Joining me now from Islamabad is Zulfikar Bukhari. He's a member of the Pakistan's Tehreek-e-Insaf party and advisor to Imran Khan. Zulfikar, good to have you on the Newsmakers. Let me start off by asking you, many observers in Pakistan are convinced that Imran Khan is the military's preferred candidate in these elections, and the army is working to undermine his rivals. So, is the PTI benefiting from the army's support?
First of all, thank you, Ali, for having me on your show. You know, when a party is down and out, they have to build a narrative. The narrative can't be that we don't have support, no one showed up for me at the airport, no one is going to vote for me, or we're going to lose. So a narrative has to be built. It's unfortunate that Pakistan Muslim League chose the narrative of army support. Whereas if you go back into history, what does even army support mean, considering the fact that he himself is a creation of the army?
All right, so you're saying that is your opponent's narrative. What is your narrative?
Well, the PTI's narrative is very simple, Ali. It's that people have elected previous parties, let it be PPP or PMLN, and this time they want change. They want someone who has given them prosperity in terms of hospitals and universities, and now they are, you can see from all TV records, media records, that the crowd, the populist party is Imran Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Our narrative is simple, that you vote for the one honest guy that you have in top tier leadership.
One key quote from Imran Khan has said that Pakistan's issue is nothing to do with liberalism or fundamentalism, but Pakistan has an issue with governance. How does the PTI plan to tackle this issue if you're elected?
Ali, look, governance is always the main issue in any country in the world. The reason why when you live in Britain or anywhere else, or America, the reason why you have liberalism or you can somewhat tame extremism is only because of good governance, strengthened institutions. Without them, when it becomes a form of dictatorship, when one man is trying to rule all and he politicizes all the institutions, it becomes very difficult for a country to run as a governed country. It becomes a dictatorship. And it's very important for countries like even Turkey, for example, that they remain democratic and institutions remain strong. In terms of how to tackle it, it starts out at the top. It's a trickle-down effect. If the person sitting at the top of the pyramid is politicized completely and wants to put his own family members and close friends in institutions, it's very difficult to run a government like that. It's close to impossible. It's a form of corruption because you're putting your personal gains in front of what is based on merit, like you have in all other countries across the world. Most other countries across the world.
Okay, so, but Mr. Khan is seen by many voters as sort of a quote-unquote change candidate. But the PTI has never really held power on a national level. If you are elected, will they be able to deliver on this change that they've been campaigning for?
Absolutely. I mean, we haven't held national, we haven't represented from the federal. We've represented from the province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, KPK in short, and he's done a fantastic job of it. Coming into this, so that gave us experience, first of all, coming in from a province, from probably the hardest territory in the country to run, with all your extreme elements over there. You had a lot of terrorism over there. You're bordering with Afghanistan. There's lots of issues over there. The fact that you can bring change there, imagine how much change you can bring in your more easy areas, your urban areas, the central of the country. We think the first 100 days are extremely important. It's important that we bring about radical change, but when you term radical change in developing countries, small amount of efforts constitute towards radical change. The problem that the people have faced is that they've seen nothing. They've seen no different change. They've seen big buses and they've seen a couple of roads being built in 5 years' time, but they've seen nothing that changes their life personally. All they've seen is a little bit of infrastructure, which we all know the kickbacks that come on that. So I have absolutely zero hesitation to say that coming into power, Mr. Khan and his team will provide, inshallah, dramatic change towards the country for the betterment of its people.
But Zulfikar, for you to sort of up your game on the national level, there is sort of this idea that your party has been criticized for accepting into the PTI in recent months these so-called electables, politicians who sort of regularly switch between parties. How much has the party benefited from this, and do you feel that you cannot win on the national level without the support of this group?
Look, Ali, it's not about a group. It's about political science. It's about how to run an election. An electable is someone who has had experience in running elections. It's not about if they're called an electable or the fact that we're a young party. If you look at it in this way, we've governed for 5 years. So technically, this is our second election where we're going to come into power, inshallah, and have a governance role. The fact of an electable is that he has the science of how to run an election. We do think it's going to be very fruitful. We don't have a doubt in the fact that if the person has been in different parties before, how is he going to act in this party? You only have these insecurities when your leadership is weak, when your leadership is strong, when your leadership is like Imran Khan, which starts from the top, who has been called what we say Sadiq and Amin, meaning he's been cleared from the Supreme Court of being pure and honest. We believe that that trickle-down effect comes all the way down. So when you win your seats, first of all, you have to pick your ministries very carefully, who you're giving your ministries to. A minister also has the only executive powers. It's very important for a minister to pick the right team underneath him. Then he makes the executive decisions of those professional teams that he has underneath him. In Pakistan previously, we've never had that. We've had a minister who thinks he knows it all. He's been taken from somewhere. He has no knowledge of what ministry he's in. And he tries to run it as a cowboy, or running around making his own decisions without any real experience or any expertise. So having these electables allows you to have the correct science during the election day, and we have zero issues in how we will govern them later in our government.
All right, I have a lot more to ask you about these electables, but let me bring in two more guests. Joining me now from Islamabad is Siddique Farooq. He's a senior member of former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's PMLN party, and also from Islamabad, we're now joined by political analyst Mosharraf Zaidi. Gentlemen, welcome into the conversation. Siddique Farooq, let me start with you. Many polls have suggested that Mr. Nawaz Sharif is the most popular political leader in Pakistan, but party leaders like yourself are complaining that the PMLN is not being provided a level playing field. What do you mean by this?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you. The judgments given by the court and the continuous pressure being exerted by agencies, as former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has said, the aerial creature, shows that PMLN has been targeted and is a special target of these agencies. Our 10 members, 10 ticket holders from southern Punjab were forced to return our tickets.
Who specifically are you talking about, though, Siddique Farooq? Who specifically are you talking about?
I'm talking about different intelligence agencies and establishment. And here in Pakistan nowadays, there is unholy alliance between some judges and these forces. So they are targeting PMLN, especially Nawaz Sharif family, to oust it from the political arena. But of course, as you have said, most of the independent surveys say that he is still the most popular leader, and PMLN too is the most popular political party because it has delivered. In 2013 elections, the election manifesto given by the PMLN has been implemented in letter and spirit. So we have at our credit our credibility and our performance.
So you're saying our past will be a testament for the
but
future.
while on the other hand,
Mosharraf
intervene?
Zaidi, let me turn to you. You are a political analyst, and we all know that the army has frequently intervened in Pakistan politics since independence. The country has sort of oscillated between civilian and military rule for the past several decades. What does the military want from these elections?
Well, I think, I can speak to what the military should want, and then we can speculate about what I think it wants, and what Siddique Saab thinks it wants, and what others might think it wants. I think the military should want a strong, stable government to come out of this election. I think that the military should want an election in which the opposition parties, those parties that lose the election, do not have the grounds to contest the basis of their loss. They do not have the grounds to protest, to go to the international community and complain about the election process. The military in this country requires a civilian administration that is capable of governing this country without undermining the important security concerns that the military claims this country has, and which I think quite rightly the military is concerned about. But I also think that the military needs to understand in Pakistan that ultimately the strongest kind of national security in this country is going to come about when a civilian administrator, a civilian leader, an elected leader in this country, has full control over the direction of the foreign policy and the security policy of Pakistan. And I think we're a long way away from that. So I think this election, if the military knows what's good for Pakistan, then it should want a clean, free, fair, credible election that delivers a strong government. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't think that's what Pakistan is going to get.
Okay, Mosharraf Zaidi, that's your point of view. Siddique, let me turn back to you. If Imran Khan's PTI wins, will your party lead its supporters into the streets, especially if Nawaz Sharif remains behind bars?
Let the leadership take a decision, but it will not be acceptable for us, because as I have already stated, that we have delivered and Imran Khan has badly failed to deliver in the province of KPK. Badly failed. He has not delivered even a single point. He has not fulfilled any commitment made through election manifesto. So how can he return? As far as my brother Mosharraf Zaidi has said, that military wants this. Military constitutionally has no role in elections, not at all. And any time when the civilian leadership was enjoying full power, they have delivered, they have strengthened, beefed up country's defense, they have made this Pakistan nuclear, they have introduced and implemented this CPAC, etc. So on economic side or on the defense side, civil leadership has proved that it is a better choice for Pakistan, and it delivers.
Okay.
Not military
Bukhari, I want to turn to you. The leader of your party has said that he's ruled out any potential alliance with the two other largest parties. Basically, he's saying that if you have a coalition with them, you defeat the whole purpose of coming into power. Is this sort of all or nothing for the PTI?
Just before I answer that, I just want to say to the couple of gentlemen on your show that, in particular the one from PMLN, that you can't fool the public anymore. If Nawaz Sharif had done so much for the country, where were the people on the roads? The establishment can't tie a rope around people's legs and not allow 100, 200, 300, 400,000 people to come out. You yourself from Turkey knew that when Erdogan tried to have a coup, people came out on the road for support. It overturned the coup that was a potential. So if someone is so popular as one claims to be, why did we only see a few people on the road? His own brother couldn't make it. So, you got to be realistic on what you're trying to portray here. I understand you're in a losing position. I understand that you haven't done any work. I understand your leader's been thrown into corruption, thrown into jail for criminal corruption charges. This is not something that's only done by the Supreme Court of Pakistan. All the Western media has covered his places. If you haven't, it's not a question of if you have got corrupt money in there, not the fact you haven't declared your assets being a premier of the country, Let's not even get into the money trail for a second. The fact that you've gained these assets at the time when you're declaring losses in the country in your businesses, but you have money to buy millions of pounds worth of assets in Britain. How is it possible? And now you've been thrown into prison, and that's establishment all of a sudden. So basically, what the narrative is trying to be built here is that if the rule of law is implemented, that's establishment. But if we're running the wild, wild west, then that's democracy and that's free will. I realistically believe, and not trying to sound too dramatic, I believe it's all or nothing for Pakistan. I think the Pakistani people need to make a choice now. We're in the country's economic crisis is dire straits. I think, is it Zaidi Saab on your show? I'm sure Mr. Zaidi will be able to even elaborate further that, you know, we're in a financial crisis, 4 to 6 weeks away from bankruptcy. We have decisions to make. You know, where we've got to is not because of Imran Khan. Imran Khan hasn't led us to this economic crisis. Imran Khan hasn't led us to this social crisis. Imran Khan hasn't led us to this security crisis that we're having. He hasn't been in government. You know, the parties that have to take responsibility of that. We obviously cannot ally with any of the main parties because that stands against everything that he has stood for in the past. Having said that, we don't believe that we will, inshallah, need the reason to. We believe that we'll take a straight majority. So I don't even think that we need to think along the lines of forming a coalition government. Inshallah, God willing, we'll take the majority.
Mosharraf Zaidi, I'm going to give you the last word on the upcoming elections.
May I respond to the allegation of corruption?
Let me just first turn to Mosharraf Zaidi.
I think that the election, every major survey and opinion poll suggests that there are partisans in Pakistan that favor the PMLN and the PTI, and they will vote in the direction that they are already committed to voting. But that the main deciders for the 2018 election are going to be undecideds. And they're not going to vote on the basis of an anti-corruption agenda as per the PTI, or a development and delivery agenda and a civilian supremacy agenda as per the PMLN. They're going to vote on a number of other issues that matter to them, particularly, as Zulfikar Bukhari just mentioned, the sort of impending macroeconomic financial crisis, the availability of clean drinking water, and a whole host of other issues that affect people's daily lives, including nutrition, jobs, inflation, and the like. If the people of Pakistan come out in large numbers and vote according to the issues that matter to them, or if they stay home and they decide that too much has been done to undermine the election, in either case, I think we're headed for a deeply fractured parliament to go along with our deeply fractured political discourse. And unfortunately, rather than strengthening Pakistan, a coalition government that is weak and unstable is going to continue to raise questions about the stability of Pakistan overall.
Okay, Siddique Al-Farooq, I'm going to give you a chance to respond to your main political rivals' allegations.
Yes, as far as the accusation of corruption is concerned, even the NAB court, which has given a judgment.
Sorry, it's not an accusation.
This judgment says
there's a big difference between accusation.
Yeah, that Nawaz Sharif has not committed corruption. Number one. Number two, it has not been proved that these flats belong to Nawaz Sharif. We assume. So they have assumed.
Siddique Al-Farooq, Zulfikar Bukhari, and Mosharraf Zaidi, thank you very much for joining us here on the Newsmakers. Still to come on the Newsmakers, controversy in the Knesset. Israel passes a new law declaring it the nation state of the Jewish people. Has Netanyahu just legalized discrimination? And forget Russian election meddling. We look at whether China was part of a plot to hack Cambodian politics.